Well, welcome everybody to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today. Beside me, a truly global influencer out there that I'm proud to make an acquaintance with, Mike Mongo. Mike?
Mark, it's a pleasure to be here.
Well, likewise. We met, I'm going to show when we met here a few months ago, and enjoy seeing you at events around the Space Coast. Mike is truly an influencer from here to Scotland, and we know that Robert Law is enjoying a cocktail in Scotland today. Hello, Robert. And Mike Mongo's got a personal story about a new launch complex up there, right?
Where's Robert in Scotland? Where is he?
He's in Dundee,
Okay.
Scotland,
So
which
yeah,
is in the port area, I think.
so yeah, Shetland is the home of the Saxaborg Spaceport, which is it's the very first vertical launch facility in all of Western Europe.
Right.
And it's in Scotland, and it's funny because I'll be traveling around the UK, and people will constantly be surprised that there's a launch facility that we're about to have the first launch. It's going to be in the fourth quarter of this year
Good.
with Rocket Factory Augsburg.
We'll be following it here on Stay Curious. And Mike, you're going to talk more about that at the end here. As
Yeah.
we're going to talk about different things that he's involved in. I definitely think you and I are kind of kindred spirits where people would say they may have broke the mold when they created Marquette. And they may say that about Mongo. I don't know.
Yeah, they probably do.
They probably do.
Some of your viewers may not know me, so we better explain my glasses really
We'll
quick.
break them in early. Yeah, you've got a fashion statement
Usually
there
I don't
with your
even talk about it.
with your glasses. Yeah, tell us
people who
about
don't
that.
know me.
Dave Stangy's up in Michigan going, "What's up with the glasses?"
So I don't usually like. Here's the deal. Look, they're made this way, and
Uh-huh.
I had an optometrist. I never let other people wear my glasses. Just FYI, you
Thank
look good
you.
in them.
Thank you. Hey, they fit good.
I was just
They
telling
look-
Mark he's a handsome guy. He's a well-groomed guy.
That's right. There you go. I like the
Wow.
blue.
Wow, you have that documented. People come up and ask me, "Can I try those on all
Really?
the time?"
Well,
No, that's great. That's great.
we become fast friends, and it's only because we share the same enthusiasm for space, and I, particularly me, with space history and preserving the shuttle era for
Mark, the
it
stuff that
is.
you have here, pro.
Oh well, thank you.
Let me tell you, no, it's insane. I got goosebumps. Look,
Oh well, thank you.
I mean, like out here, if anybody has the opportunity, if you're coming to Cape Canaveral, I've been to Kennedy Space Center, who knows how many times, and if you're coming to this area, be sure and put the American Space Museum on your agenda. It is amazing. I mean, every time I walk through here, I see something that I say, I want that. I want that. And it's so hands-on. And you would think that some of the stuff here is too dear to be that close. And you've done a great job of accumulating and preserving this history. It's essential.
Well, I haven't, but I enjoy promoting it. But yes, over 20 years of preserving the birth of the American space age in its delivery room, Mike, right here in Brevard County
Yeah.
is what I got jazzed up about. And then meeting space workers, which I wasn't. I had a rich journalism career as a photographer, uh, and then a sales career. But you and I meet these space workers here, and we consider them national treasures because they did things that no one else has done.
Pro, you are a national treasure. You've documented so many of these conversations of people who might have otherwise been forgotten, and also documented the information and insights that they have to share.
Well, thank you. Somebody probably would have done it, but
No,
we're going to talk more about that. You didn't tell us why you did your glasses like that.
right.
After you're
After
freaking
he
out that
wo-
I got
after
to
he
wear.
wore, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'll screen grab that and send it out. Sure.
So I work with students around the world, right?
Uh-huh.
And getting students, there's so many screens that I'm in competition with these days. And if I walk into a room and my glasses are like this, and I say, "My name is Mike Mongo. I'm an astronaut teacher."
Yeah.
Now, actually, to tell you the truth, this works. I have learned is students who taught me this, but it's grown-ups who have the issue with our devices. I walk in, I say, "Hi, Mike Mongo, astronaut teacher." They'll look at their phone, they'll look up at me. If my glasses were like this, and then we would go right back to our device. However, when I'm like this, and by the way, you can see the dent that's in my nose. I've had them like this for a decade.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really
yeah.
there.
Yeah, it is there.
Like, and when I do this, "My name is Mike Mongo. I'm an astronaut teacher." I have their attention like that. And it was students who taught me that. And now I get to talk with all these people that are, I'm on launch teams and what all, and supporting people that are going to space. Our friend, I don't know if have you talked with Iman, who's about to go to space with Blue Origin?
No, I haven't.
The
No.
next crewed mission. Yeah,
Super.
So he's a friend. And
Well, you're well connected with a lot of people. Like we all kind of get that way. We all find our little cliques. We've got a little clique with these old timers that I cherish, and we share here on Stay Curious. But what we do here and what you are doing is just phenomenal out there to reach people that are space-like thinking people. And one of the things here like that we do is honor the space workers from Apollo and Mercury and Gemini and so forth. And I'm going to put up here, we lost Bob Giffen over the weekend. He was a docent here. There he is putting his hands in Neil Armstrong's bronzed hands here in our museum. Bob, we loved you. He was a great North American guy on the Saturn V rocket. Actually hung off the Saturn V rocket over 250 feet in the air to put insulation in it, saying, I can do that so we don't have to pull it back in the VAB and delay a whole, weeks of waiting. And we'll talk more about Bob, but I just heard from his daughter, Deborah, that he'd passed away. And, we're losing these people from Apollo. And
sure.
Just like the World War II generation, the youngest people that were World War II Normandy are like in their 90s, type of thing. So, family of Bob Giffen, we're thinking about you and those of you that were privileged to have a tour with this gentleman. This is what we're all about here, to a large part, and then segueing into the future.
So you interviewed Bob.
Bob's been on our show before. Yes, has a great technical thing about the Saturn V rocket that he was involved with, particularly the second stage. So
okay, so here is the value of what you're doing, is that these conversations and now in the future, and like you got this young guy, Logan. I don't know how you
sure and speak up here.
I know you said you had a bunch of old people around here, but this guy over here is young, and documenting these things that are otherwise lost to time.
Yeah.
Like as soon as someone's gone, a lot of this stuff disappears, and all of that. Like here in Cape Canaveral, like I live in Cape Canaveral, and at garage sales, I can't get over what I can find at garage sales. It's nuts. Oh, that's another thing. After you visit Kennedy Space Center, and then after you come to the American Space Museum, be sure and put garage sales on. I'm not kidding. Put it on your list and visit and go, and you will. Again, goosebumps.
Yeah.
You will. It's astounding what people have in their closets around here. And so somebody like Bob, who was instrumental in getting us to space, passes.
Right.
And then their kids may not know what,
a lot of them
or they
don't
have
know.
so much stuff.
And that's what collectors are hoping, they find something real cheap at those, and they do.
And then some people buy it for value, but other people buy it because it's instrumental. Like these are components of our space history and American history, really.
Well, you're gonna enjoy this conversation with Mike. We've got there's Robert Law. Yes, looking forward to the first launch from Scotland. He says he's up in Dundee, and Gary Gerald is our Vidalia onion farmer up in Georgia. He found this during the.
I love Vidalia onion.
Yeah,
it's the only onion I get at Publix.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, he may have been with the outfit that grew them in the only counties that can. Gary Gerald, thank you for, he's been on our show and talked about the agriculture, GPS, and all of that has been revolutionized by the space age. All right, people don't realize, and you know this, and that's why you're out there sharing it with kids. What touches our lives today, hardly anything you can't trace back to the space program, right, Mike?
Oh, y'all, listen, I am the. Okay, so here's an interesting thing is that in the beginning, like I've been an astronaut teacher for 18 years, and in the beginning, occasionally a person would come up to me and tell me about how we never went to the moon and how it's a conspiracy. Occasionally.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, in the last 5-6 years, I will be in places that I would never expect anyone to come up and say something so foolish to me, and they just like as bold as can be. Before you'd have an intelligent conversation with someone and they just slip it in. We haven't been to the moon. And you're like, oh my gosh. Oh, right. We haven't. Sure, we haven't. We have 400,000 people that worked on Apollo, but somehow we got all of them to keep it secret. I can't get 2 people to keep it secret.
Yeah,
But
just keep a secret among the dozen people in your office. See
yeah,
how that
yeah,
works
yeah.
out for you.
And so,
Yeah, that's a, I used to be really defensive about that, and then I used to just think they were morons, and you can't call people morons anymore. And my wrist has actually gotten sore a time or two blocking people on our Facebook that will say horrible things to us, Mike, like your museum should be embarrassed taking money for phony Hollywood artifacts, props,
yes.
and I just go to their Facebook page and see that there's, nobody on their Facebook page usually, and just block them.
So there's
Uh,
this television show, For All Mankind, right?
yes,
Very
for all
popular,
mankind.
very popular. And
Apple TV.
and if you haven't, it's a little slow in the beginning, but it really picks up. And then there is this movie that's coming out right now that's about the NASA faking the moon program, the Apollo program, and in case it didn't work out, they had this footage to
Yeah,
the side.
the movie Fly Me to the Moon. We
Is that what
talk
that is?
about. Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that movie?
yeah, yeah.
And so
We talk about here. I call it fun and far-fetched.
yeah, it doesn't help because people go and
No.
see this movie and they think that that's actually how we did it. And okay, so that I got off. You were bringing up the cell phone. This is one of the
I'm
other
just saying,
things.
today's society, we owe everything to space. We really
So
do.
I get to talk. One of the things I talk about is that about how so much of our ordinary life is advantaged by space. And it reminded me of how many people come up to me nowadays and say these ridiculous things we haven't been to space. But when it comes to the cell phone and these devices, the glass that comes from space.
Hmm.
The solid state circuitry comes from developing from microcircuitry from space. The camera, digital cameras, comes from space. Rechargeable batteries
Oh, absolutely.
come from space, developing for space. GPS comes from space, from developing for space. How many people's lives have been saved by this device right here?
Right.
By the way, right here on my cup, this is after Neil Armstrong got back. I don't know what message is down there.
Oh,
Let
that's
me
his
get-
birthday cake.
Yeah, when they were in quarantine and he had a birthday.
Yeah.
And I think about that cake that they had. How good must have that? That's a homemade cake in the 1960s,
probably
no
did.
preserves.
Yeah, that
Come
tastes
on.
good, yeah.
Homemade
Yeah, his
frosting.
birthday was yesterday or the day before. He'd have been 94
Yeah.
on there, incredibly.
Yeah, so getting to tell people about when people tell me another thing that people say is that why are we investing in space when we have all the challenges that we face on Earth? And I am not an either or kind of person. I am a both and kind of person. Like we can do both. It's like we solve the challenges on Earth and we solve the challenges in space. In fact, we can solve all the challenges we face on Earth: energy, health, sustainability, because in space sustainability is priority. The illusion of scarcity by solving for space. We can solve all the challenges we face on Earth by solving for space. And Cyan, who's been here before, I was here with her. That's how.
Yeah, Cyan Proctor. In fact, that's
Yeah.
Mike Mongo's got your attention. You're going to hear some good stuff that this educator's doing. He's a influencer in his own little clique of things out there, but you're really all about. You'd like to see a teenager go to space, wouldn't you?
More than one.
More than one, yeah.
Kids in space.
And kids in space. He's going to talk about that. I met you, and if you got questions for Mike, chime on there.
Okay. Yeah,
what,
there we are.
what a magical day we had here with
Hey, there's Sean Grant from Carmen Line.
You're in the
There's
background
Gabriel
there.
Rothblatt.
That is our
Jen.
Cyan Proctor, who was part of the St. Jude's
Dr. Cyan
trip
Proctor.
to space. What an artist she is too. We've got Bert Dick there with the NSS. He's on once a
yeah.
month. Bert and Gabriel Rothblatt with Jennifer, the secretary. In the middle there
And
is
partner.
Alex Carl, who's the ESA Eurocom, a good friend of ours.
That's
They're-
right.
Yeah. And Karen Conklin is right behind you there, right beside Sean. Move to the other side there. I think we see Karen right there. Yeah, there she is there. God bless her. And then Marty Winkles, you guys, your arm around Marty. Just heard from Marty today. he went to the Cradle of Aviation Museum up in Long Island today. Took a lot of pictures, and we're going to make a show out of it next week when he comes
That's
back
great.
Thursday. But yeah, what a
That
great
was a great day. That was,
Diane took
come on.
the selfie there.
Yeah, she's selfie queen.
In there, yeah, she's
really good at it because
well,
she's
I
always
was
around
really
celebrities.
impressed with her, and what a wonderful human being, and just a beautiful lady.
Cyan has a new book out. It's called Earth Light.
Okay.
And I highly recommend it because she has, by being in orbit around the planet for 3 days, what she understood was that she got to experience the light of the Earth coming into the spaceship, because the way that the
Earth shine coming up, yeah.
Earth shine is the light of the Earth reflecting off of the moon.
Right.
That's Earth shine.
You're right.
But the Earth light is when the Earth.
Oh yeah, it'd be different Earth light. Yeah.
Yeah. So then the sun hits the Earth, and the Earth is a lot more reflective than the moon. And so when they opened up the cupola, and that was the largest cupola of any spacecraft ever in space, and it was the largest single piece of glass, they could put their entire half torso up into it.
Wow.
And so then they open it up, and then you can see on the Contact Inspiration 4 special on Netflix that when they experience Earth light for the first time. So she's a poet, right? And she's there and she's bathed in Earth light. And then it dawns on her that, remember when William Shatner went to space and he said it was all, he's like, you went up there and you're expecting to see all this, but it was all black and there's nothing out there. It said it's death. And then you turn her back around and there is this beautiful blue light, this ball of life. And that he's talking about, and he's a poet also, by the way, William Shatner, great poet. And what he was talking about is that, and what Cyan brought to our attention, and she's written a book about it now called Earthlight. It's on Amazon right now. It just came out. I just got it. And it is that the light of the Earth and how it is impacted by the veil of our atmosphere creates an environment which is sustainable for life. And without it, we may not actually be able to live for long periods off planet. We don't know yet.
There it is, right up above your.
There it is. That's Earthlight.
We talk about that all the time with one of our favorite astronauts, Nicole Stott. That we are Earthlings.
Chris,
we
husband.
all live on a planet, and the only border that matters is that thin blue line up there, and that's what we love talking about. And we're going to talk some more about it here.
Logan, you did a good job with that, throwing that up like that.
Yeah, thank you. Logan Cope is our Eastern Florida State College intern here, and he's going solo and doing a great job. Well, like I said, with Marty and my co-producer for over 4 years. This was something we came up with out of the pandemic, Mike. I've got a background of public speaking through 40 years of astronomy talks all over the country. And this is our 1,105th episode today in 4 years. And
is it 1,105th or 1,107th?
Fifth or seventh, I don't know. Wow, you want it to be seven?
Somebody out there will know.
Yeah, somebody. Dave Stangy's keeping track of it probably up there. He's one of our number one guys, as is Steve Jokums. Hello, Steve. He's at Lake County Spaceport, which is up on the shores of Lake Michigan. His spaceport deals with selling decals for mostly shuttle models and so forth. A great guy, and what a space.
Is it a spaceport?
No, I mean, that's his business
name.
It.
Oh, that's
that's
great.
what he calls it. That's how
Where's
enamored Steve Jokums is. Steve, forget which town he's in, Lake County, Illinois. I
have friends up there. I might have to direct them.
Fox Lake, Illinois. North of.
Write that down.
Yeah. Oh, he's a great guy, good supporter of us. And I was wondering about you, Steve. I hadn't heard you for a couple of days. I was going to give you a call. So he and I are both Formula One fans. So we're trying to be on vacation during the 3 weeks that the.
You learn something new every time on
F1's
ASM.
Yeah, you surely do. Some things you might not want to know or remember even. But before we get into, you've got 3 or 4 Facebook pages that really tell what you are. But we always like asking, where did you grow up and how did you get involved with this space stuff?
I'm a native Floridian.
Are you?
I really am. I'm an eighth generation native Floridian.
Eighth generation. Okay.
Captain James McMullen, James Jr., Arabella, Willa Dune, Walter Sr., Walter Jr., my mom, and me.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's
So,
a good lineage
That's
there.
yeah. That and
What town did you grow up in?
that and $5 will get you a coffee at Starbucks.
Yeah, well, won't it?
Yeah. I grew up. I was in Key West. I turned 1 year old in Key West. I was born in Dunedin, Florida.
Uh-huh.
And then my grandparents and my parents were in Marathon, Florida. And so I
Rusty Nail, I've eaten at a bunch in Marathon.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know Rusty Nail
Yeah.
there?
Of course.
Yeah. The Winter Star Party in the Keys.
I
Miami
love
Club
it.
was down there.
Oh yeah, been a
Bahia Honda and
Yeah.
all that.
Great
yeah.
beach.
Yeah, I haven't been there in 10 years, but I used to speak.
All of that's a less expensive area. Key West has become like a resort.
Oh
really.
God, yeah,
It's astounding how expensive it is.
It-
If I didn't have family there, I don't know how I'd be able to stay there.
Yeah, I went in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, and they were just pulling up the mom and pops in Key West and or Marathon and Big Pine Key and going to Key West to make big bucks. Like Monty's. You ever eat at Monty's in?
Of course.
Of course, in Big Pine Key. Yeah,
Yeah.
love Monty's.
Come on.
Monty's had the most delicious scallops, like baked beans in a crock. I crave that sometimes, and a good conch fritter is not bad either.
You're making my mouth water.
my.
I'm not even kidding.
Well, so you're a natural, being in Florida, a kid in
And
school,
so
seeing
then I
the
went
rockets
to
go up.
school in Pinellas County, and then the thing about, I always tell people, Florida growing up for me was citrus and beaches and Disney and NASA. That's it. That was
Okay.
Florida in a nutshell. So Jimmy Buffett was a big part of my growing up experience for sure.
Okay.
And
Fins up.
fins up, bubbles up now.
Bubbles up
Bubbles
now?
up. Yeah,
Okay.
bubbles up.
All right. Yeah.
And-
We celebrated we celebrate, he was at the STS 135 launch and did a big concert.
I remember that. I forgot it.
Yeah, he certainly did. We have Terry White, our garage mechanic, chief of the garage mechanics for the shuttle. He'll be on next week and catch some of our shows with Terry. He toured Jimmy Buffett and some people like that. So
And so then I was in college at Berry College, Rome, Georgia. That was my second college. I went to St. Pete Junior College. I went to a bunch of different universities and finished at Berkeley. And then it was the day after my birthday when the Challenger blew up.
oh man, January 29th.
It was the
Well, 28. Your birthday's the 27th. Then.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's Apollo 1 day too.
And I was 21.
Oh,
And,
wow.
yeah, so I woke up hungover. I didn't even think it was real.
Huh.
I mean, I remember it. It's one of those things you remember.
Your 21st birthday, you woke up hungover and you're thinking you're seeing a dream as Challenger was.
I didn't think it was real.
Wow.
And that was back when like television was broadcast. There wasn't no cable. We weren't using cable then. There was cable, but we weren't using it where we were. And it was broadcast television. It was live, and that was a momentous. That was a stunning occasion. There's these moments that we remember forever, even as young people, or maybe especially as young people. And that was one of them.
That is when I was paying my cable bill, going on my sales route, and I saw the pictures in the, on the TVs in the cable office, and going, "What the heck? That don't look right." And
Pro, I can't even go over to, like, when I go into at the Kennedy Space Center, they have the Hall of Remembrance. I mean, I'm just joking up talking about it.
oh wow, well, it's a beautiful tribute.
It is astounding.
When we've got a new friend, Mike Cianelli, who is over the lessons learned at NASA, and Mike's doing some programs with us here. So I'll hook you up with Mike. You'd love to meet him one day on there. So
By the way, Mark, I say pro. I don't say bro. I say pro. I work with all of these students, and they call me bro. I'm like, I'm not a bro. I'm a pro. I'm a pro. You're a pro. I always tell them that they're pros. I always call students pros, so they have a good idea of themselves.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the things you do out there passionately, like I do. There's your Facebook page there, and
That's my personal page. There's probably a regular page, but that's me. Yeah, that's me in front of a bunch of that little. Okay, so the little boy.
I figure that's what you love to do, Mike.
Oh my gosh. Letting these students know that they have permission to imagine themselves living, working, and playing in space. A friend of mine's mom the other day did not know that we have an international space station in space.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, it's incomprehensible. You should see Logan's face right now. It's the right look, Logan. Like, and we're all, every single one of us who talk and love space, we are all advocates. We are all out there doing the work. We're acolytes. We're foot soldiers.
We're acolytes. That's a good way to put it. I just wanted to point out this picture here. Little boy off your shoulder there turned his glasses upside down. I noticed in that picture.
Right.
There.
So the students do that all the time. I got a kick out of it. Now the one on my left, on the far side, not that very edge, but just above him with his hand on his leg and his knees up. He's got the white pants, black shirt. That's my son.
Oh, okay.
I went to his school long ago. He's 13 now. I love that picture.
That's a great picture there. Yeah. So you can find Mike in various places there. Mongo is a pretty distinctive name, and this is a Cuban. All right. Carlton Bailey, who's our rocket photographer, done over 700 launches of the rocket. He's asking, anybody call you Mongo as in Blazing Saddles Mongo?
Who says that? Who says
Carlton.
That? Carlton, you're showing your age, pro. Let me tell you what, nobody knows that joke. Only people older than me.
Mongo is played by football player Alex Karras.
Oh my gosh.
Of the Detroit
See what I'm
Lions.
saying?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, people of the world unite.
And we do here, because we got a lot of baby boomers out there that love staying curious with us today.
Hey, I got to tell you something about
Sure.
We're just talking away, okay?
Absolutely.
So we're gonna riff, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, love it.
And Logan, this applies to you because you're like a Gen Z guy, and so all of these Gen Z and millennial people, and they're all mad at boomers, you know, and you are. It's true, and sometimes it feels like rightfully so. I get it, and I get to explain nowadays to students that where boomers came from is that there was a thing here on the planet called World War II. And it involved the entire planet. And it's like 2 atomic weapons going off, detonating, and so many people died. Like I tell them, how many people you think died during COVID? And they give me numbers. I'm like, it was 1%. 1% of the planet. How many people died during World War II, population-wise? 3%.
3%.
And so think how impacted we were by COVID, right? So then, all of the people, this is the greatest generation, we call that generation the greatest generation, they came home and then tried to behave like regular life.
Yeah.
It was an entire planet of people with PTSD.
Right.
That was your parents, that was your teachers.
Yeah.
And all of these people were raised by people with PTSD, trying to hold it together on a day in, day out basis after just having fought 6 years of a global war, which is incomprehensible, but like we can wrap our heads around it. And that explains why, like the idea, like security-minded people, like coming into a world where everybody has PTSD, I can't imagine what everybody went through as children dealing with that. And then boomers raised Gen X, my people, and then we're sort of, you know, like we were like raised to go out there and do it on our own, and latchkey kids, and that whole the mythology of Gen X and how we've turned into who we are, and then millennials, and then Gen A, and so Gen A has they have carte blanche, they're allowed to do anything, and each generation, what I explain to students all the time. And I like everyone else, I've had parents. And I get to explain to students how difficult it is to raise parents. It is so hard to raise parents.
Right.
It is, right?
Yes.
And that knowing that and then having my own kids, I get to forgive my parents for so much, because after I experience with my own kids, I'm like, oh wow, I get it now. I get it. And it's tough and it's difficult. And getting to see both sides of it. And now with those kids, getting to help them with their kids, my kids, grandkids, because I got grandkids, and this is a joy actually. it allows me to help people not to be upset with another generation that came before us, and people talk about what generations bring, but all the generations brought really amazing things, to tell you the truth. Like, there are terrific things that each generation has brought to the table, and that's important truth.
Well, it is. The new generation of kids going to kindergarten or have got a smart tablet and no books, type
Yeah.
of thing.
Nope.
Uh, we
They work with AI.
Yeah, my generation, like you said, interesting. Never heard it put that way. That our parents had post-traumatic stress
For sure they
syndrome. It probably like cancer today. Back in the 50s and 60s, you probably didn't know. Everyone knew someone that was killed in the war.
Absolutely.
Somewhere around.
Look at the
there.
alcoholism that was.
Yeah.
I mean, from
Drug
back then,
addiction, alcoholism.
through that whole time.
And you had the 60s where people, started reveling in life again and stuff like that. But
Cutting loose.
cutting loose. Very interesting. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good
So-
perspective there. I hope you're enjoying this with Mike Mongo. I am.
I was in '69 was when I like my first. The people asked me how I became an astronaut teacher and why I got involved in astronautics, and it was because when I was 3. Somebody asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and Batman with Adam West and I can't remember his partner's name was on the original Batman, and I would watch
Right.
it. Why would you ask a 3-year-old? Logan, we used to ask people who were 3 what they wanted to be when they grew up.
Grew up, yeah.
A 3-year-old. And so I said Batman. And the grown-up in charge, whoever that was, I don't remember, but they said, like, there's no such thing as superheroes. And I was devastated as a 3-year-old. Like, actually, I thought, grown-ups don't know anything, clearly. Obviously, I watch Batman. And so then the next year, '69, I was 4, and then we landed people on the moon. And by the way, we really did.
I think Ward Burton is...
Burt Ward.
Burt Ward.
Burt
Yeah.
Ward.
Burt Ward is the
Adam West and Burt Ward.
Yeah, there
And
you
so
go.
when we landed, I got to see that, and it was the thing everybody talked about and everything. And I asked, seeing this amazing walking on the moon, this thing, and it's like, in my mind as a 4-year-old, I had that superheroes are not a real thing. So I asked, are astronauts a real thing? And the grown up, not knowing the reference, it was only in my head, was like, yeah, you just watched it. Like, that's real. They're on the moon. And I was like, okay. In my head, I decided right there, that's what I want to be. And that's how I became. Like, that's like I did a whole bunch. Like, I've been through a lifetime before I was 42 when I wrote the astronaut instruction manual.
Yeah, I didn't bring your book with me here. We're going to get into a book that you wrote there, and by way of that, let's talk a little bit about, we got 12 humans orbiting Earth. Every day there seems to be new breaking news about this Starliner situation, but I find it not odd, but we got all 3 superpowers are the only countries in space right now. 3 Chinese, 3 Russian, and 6 Americans among the 9 on our fabulous International Space Station. And you were just looking at NASA had a Starliner debriefing today. I was at a lunch with some NASA people that were retirees that were basically saying they're not saying anything. It's just like, we're going to just keep assessing the assessments. Doesn't look like they're going to bring Starliner back with a crew in it. And then the shocking news yesterday was that they couldn't bring it back uncrewed because they didn't have the right software in there for an unmanned to bring it back. So now they're going to have to spend a month changing the software up. But I don't think Butch and Sonny are going to come back on that thing. What do you think?
Wow.
Yeah. You hadn't heard that yet?
That's today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm paraphrasing there. Some of what was talked about the press conference, and y'all can straighten me out there. But they've been up there over 50 days, and it's supposed to be up there 8. Of course, the Cygnus supply ship docked, so they probably brought up some clean clothes and replenished all that shrimp cocktail that everybody loves up there that they've probably been eating. But there's no clear plan of how to bring them back to Earth. And it doesn't look like they're going to let them ride the Starliner back. So you were looking at, they've definitely delayed the Crew 9 launch.
Is that to do with the Starliner?
Yeah. Yeah, they have to have the port clear to the Starliner spaceport for another Crew Dragon to dock there. There's only 3
Wow.
docking ports that they can use. I know there's 6 docking ports. So the ones where they dock the Progress and
Crew
put
Dragon.
the Cygnus, they grab
Oh.
the Cygnus by the arm. They got the Russian port for the Soyuz and 2 ports for the other. So there's a delay in Crew 9, probably till sometime in September. But you got some news today.
Till September?
Yeah.
This is news.
But
Breaking news here on
It's a fluid
ASM.
thing. Yeah. Nick Sedler goes, hard to believe that the Boeing Starliner built without a backup remote control system, which they used earlier. I know it's Nick. It's so convoluted. We had one of
I'm
our
going to owe John Varela an apology. He was right. I was wrong.
about
We had a conversation about this.
you and Zarella.
Zarella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I lost money. The Starliner was going to beat the Crew Dragon up, and Crew Dragon 3 years later has launched 12 missions.
Oh,
And you just got some breaking news. Why don't you share us with that? What another private space agency is going to do?
I don't know which one you're talking about.
Jared Isaacman's
Oh, yeah.
Polaris Dawn.
Yeah, Polaris Dawn. So, like, yeah, that's right. Right before we started. So,
Yeah, wake up there.
no, Jared is a good friend, and Cyan, of course, is a friend, and well, Cyan's a great friend, and Jared is a. It's really nice when you go someplace, and you see somebody like Jared who's in charge of some important stuff call you out from a crowd, and you're like, wow, how does this guy even remember me?
Yeah,
Like-
Jared Isaacman, the other billionaire that's in this game, and he's very aligned with Musk.
Yeah.
The talk I saw him do, he says I'm Musk is going to build these starships
He is.
like an assembly line, a DC-10 aircraft,
Yeah.
and keep flying them until they work. And I'm going to give my money to him, he said, to do that. So
No,
a lot of
Jared
people
is a-
don't know how Jared Isaacman's really behind SpaceX too.
Y'all, Jared Isaacman is one of those people that is, you can't even imagine how good, helpful, kind, supportive, loving of family and friends he is. You have to know him. And he is one of these rare people that is, who what you see is what you get. He is a billionaire. And he is this human being. And it is, he has proven himself to me time and time again. He is supporting the Space Force Museum over here at the.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Bezos also
he's
in
a
that.
tremendous supporter of.
Well, you know him so well. We'd love to give him a tour here in our humble.
I was going to ask you,
museum
have you ever
someday.
been here before?
No, we've not seen any of the big companies in here.
I would like to be here with him because he would know so much about the stuff that's here because he is so informed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that'd be great because we're looking for those investors that want to keep our museum going, and because all museums and nonprofits right now are just struggling. Our bills have gone up over 1/3.
25% of everything got cut from the budget in Florida.
Yeah, we lost $100,000 in grants.
And that makes no
a couple
sense.
strokes of the pen.
I mean,
and
we're the wealthiest society. We're the wealthiest nation in the world. We can afford to support the culture like this. There is no America without the culture and history of space. Like it's a different nation without NASA.
It certainly is. Well, let's talk about some things that you are involved in, and cruising.
So, but back to Polaris for a second.
Yeah.
So Polaris is going to launch in, I think it was August
26th, I think you said.
26th or 29th.
Oh, maybe 29.
It's on Supercluster. So if you use the Supercluster app, they just updated it. And
Supercluster is an app for launches?
Yeah, it's a great one.
Okay,
really
no
good.
Supercluster. There's Launch Monkey, and there's a bunch of...
Space Coast, one called Space Coast. It's very good.
Yeah, the Space Coast one's done by our partners here on this, the Space Coast Office of Tourism. Yeah. That's a good one there. So they're going to launch a private mission again. Jared
Polaris,
Isaacman going
the
to space.
Polaris Dawn. It's the first of the 3 Polaris missions.
And what's he going to do on this one?
You know.
They'll tell everybody else.
Y'all, it's the first all civilian spacewalk.
Yeah.
And he's married and he has kids. And
And he wants another woman's going to do the spacewalk.
They have
too, I
to
think.
evacuate the entire. They have to. Everybody's in the
Yeah, everybody.
SpaceX astronaut suits. They evacuate the. They open up the capsule, evacuate of atmosphere, all oxygen and everything. Then go out there, tethered, of course, in space. And this is mind blowing to me. I love space. I'm happy. I've been training for commercial crew for a while now, like with Uplift Aerospace, and I have done wonderful things. And there's certain things I just don't know that, like, I love the films where people who are regular civilian people like you and I
Yeah.
go and do remarkable things like spacewalks. But
You don't know if you could do it.
I'm not a first adopter. I always wait for I don't get the first model of the Tesla. I wait for the next one to come out.
There you go.
This first Cybertruck, that's not me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is quite
Jared,
bold, and he's been training for this for over a year. It was a mission that they were going to do last summer,
yeah.
and it's been pushed back for whatever reasons. You got to go when it's right. But yeah, this is something good to look forward to because that St. Jude's mission raised millions of dollars.
$240 million.
Wow.
$250 million. And Elon threw in the last 50 at the end.
Wow. And I saw you
St. Jude.
outside the St. Jude Center
Yeah.
doing a live
Yeah, they
remote
flew me out
one
there.
time on there. Yeah.
Yeah, this past
That's
April,
cool
I think.
there. Carlton says the 26th, August 26th, the time to be determined. So that's the kind of intelligent people we have watching the show
26.
today, Mike, on there. So let's talk about some stuff that you've been doing. You're friends with Jeanette Epps, and she is on the space station right now. She's got an awesome story. This is a screen grab off an event you did. You're one of these small pictures. Oh, yeah, you're right there
Yeah.
in there. What was this all about?
Okay, so first of all, I am not specific. Like, Jeanette and I are friendly. I would say that Sean Graham at Carmen Line is
Yeah.
the person who's legitimately friends with Jeanette. Jeanette is amazing. She's an awesome person. We have a lot of mutual friends. And so Sean at Carmen Line here in Cape Canaveral set this up. I stage astronaut job camp every year from the Saxford Spaceport in Scotland.
We're going to talk about coming up.
And I didn't fly out there this year because we're readying for the first launch. So I work with them very closely. I went out there I did the ribbon cutting opening the spaceport.
Yeah, we were gonna
they
show
flew me out
pictures of
there.
that, yeah.
Okay, so then that was great with 2 kids that have been with astronaut job camp, 2 students. And then I got out there, and you could not swing a dead cat without hitting an engineer or a launch controller or somebody. And I said, we can't do astronaut job camper this year. It doesn't make sense. It's happening. And when there's a launch really happening, it's a busy operation. There is so much going on. There's so much to consider. And doing a virtual summer camp for students, even some of the facilities we're using were already occupied by all the new people coming from Rocket Factory Augsburg.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we staged it from right here in Cape Canaveral, Florida. And it was great. And then my friend Sean Graham, who has a company, Carmen Line, said, would you like to talk with Jeanette in space? Like, would you like to talk with NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps live on a video call? This is the future.
Yeah.
I got a call from space. I was like, is it possible that I could have Jeanette call astronaut job camp, our Zoom camp, and talk to the students?
And here she is doing it.
Oh my gosh. Y'all.
And what I thought was really cool was the pictures she was showing.
There's Starliner.
Of Starliner.
Right,
how ironic is it that they're taking pictures of Starliner outside the SpaceX windows there, but there's a live feed of Starliner.
You have to watch
there.
this video
Yeah.
and see their faces when they see the Starliner.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that these students, they're space-minded students, so they know Starliner. Like, a lot of students might not, and they were gobsmacked. They were just like,
that was awesome.
is that Starliner? We're looking at Starliner?
Over a morning pass too over there. So that's cool. Just sort of the outreach you do. You wrote this book. I didn't. My copy's at home, I guess. I didn't bring one, but this is more of a book gauged towards
9 to 13-year-olds.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I like the questions in there. but you also, it's not an instruction manual as much as it is a motivation manual where you're asking students to write down 7 things that you'd like to do in space or something like that. To
So
paraphrase.
I appreciate you reading it. Thank you. So y'all, when I there's a thing over here.
Oh, okay.
So when I'm working with these students, I don't, if I just tell them the same stuff that we all tell each other, or I never ask students, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like from that experience when I had when I was 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we as grown-ups often ask students, and that's so cliche. And they're asked it thousands of times, thousands. And I don't want to lose their attention. I want to gain their attention and let them know that I'm offering them something different and more important than the cliche question. And so I ask them what problems they want to solve when they grow up. Because there's things that when we're kids, we imagine we are going to work on. And then when I ask them what they like to do, what things do I love doing, then I ask them to imagine doing that in space. And the best, I asked all the classes I talked to them before COVID, when like virtual, it's helped now that I can do a lot more outreach virtually, but I used to be in person a lot more. And so one of the students raised her hand and she said, what about space equestrian? And so then we got to talk about Jeff Bezos and the O'Neill cylinders and how and centripetal motion and what it would take to have a horse in space and all of these things.
Okay.
But explaining this and not just saying no, we can't, and giving them
Or shooting them down for that's stupid.
as a bad idea.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah, don't do
That's
that.
the worst thing in the entire world. Even if it's impractical, it doesn't matter. What I do is I say, can you imagine being a space athlete? Can you imagine playing like Harry Potter, the Quidditch game on the broomsticks or the chasing the golden snitch? Playing, how about Quidditch in space? Because we can play Quidditch in space. Jet-powered broomsticks, why not? Why not? And we're going to have space hotels. So if we're having space hotels, we're going to be playing space sports. There's going to be space athletes. And then I get to, what about a space YouTuber? What about a space influencer, space TikToker? And I'm telling you, I have their attention like this. And this is the first step to getting students to to imagine themselves in STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics careers. And then explaining how arts plays into it too. In fact, the student, if you look up that video that you all just showed, and I recommend it because seeing the student's face when they saw that they're getting a call from outer space was the best. One of the students that we spoke, Zoe, she asked Jeanette, do we have music on the space station? And we do. And so I got to show the Commander Hadfield Major Tom video where Chris Hadfield's going through and playing Major Tom on the space station. And by doing this, what it does is it speaks to students who they are at their level, whatever idea that they have, encouraging them to use tools like Lego. Lego is the first step to becoming an engineer. There's no question. There's a video game called Kerbal Space Program.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, or Kerbal was
Kerbal,
a space program of Russia.
So Kerbal, the Kerbals are these little yellow creatures. They're like minions.
Okay.
And they and we use them in Kerbal Space Program. Tori Bruno at ULA is a friend. He is a big proponent of Kerbal Space Program to teach a fun way to teach the basics of orbital mechanics, things that we want to understand. We want kids to understand that the kids are capable of understanding. And these are students that, like, I just don't underestimate what is possible. By the way, if I can explain it to a 5-year-old, I can explain it to any grown-up. 5-year-olds teach me how to be the communicator I am.
Okay, that's a good point.
And so the Astronaut Instruction Manual, this book right here, what it does is it allows students to imagine in a different way. That's really the big, most important thing. I'm not telling students about like, there's jobs in space tomorrow. It's like tomorrow's jobs are in space is something that I definitely say. but I'm not just doing it. You can be an astronaut when you grow up. It doesn't make any sense. When you and I were growing up, may want to be an astronaut, but there's no way possible that was going to happen. Like, more likely to become a president than an astronaut.
Yeah,
just
probably.
by the numbers.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, and I realized this 18 years ago. That's why I stepped into the role of astronaut teacher. This is exactly how it happened, because I was 42 and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get to be an astronaut. And it made my knees buckle.
Oh.
It did.
Huh.
And then I said, okay, so I had to negotiate with my kid self. If I can't be an astronaut, what I'm going to do for the other half of my life. And I decided if I'm able to give every student I meet from here on out permission to imagine themselves living, working, and playing in space, then I'll be okay. And that was, remember, this is 2007. That is before SpaceX, Blue Origin. Virgin Galactic was just an idea. I was at their groundbreaking at Las Cruces. And now look where we are, and all of these students, and we've got Starship about to happen. That holds 100 people at a time, which, by the way, lends itself to kids in space. This is where we're like, see how it moves itself right there.
Huh.
And all of these students now, by giving them permission to imagine themselves living, working, and playing in space today, it gives them a critical competitive advantage about all the students who don't realize that. That's the important thing here.
Well, here's another one of Mike's pages here at his astronaut job camp.
Yay.
And look at how those kids are to go to space there. But this is a reality that you hope will happen. And here is, you posted this yesterday, I believe. Did I print my notes over there?
This is
No, they're here. I'm sorry, they're here. Yeah, this is, I wrote the kid's name down here if you don't remember it.
Good. John Reed is his dad.
Isaac.
Isaac.
Tell us what this is, an 11-year-old kid in a real spacesuit.
Yeah, that's our actual functioning pressure suit that would work, and that is Mason Robbins, Dr. Mason Robbins behind him, and that is from Cameron Smith, Pacific Space Flight at University of Oregon, I believe. And he and I have been working on this kid spacesuit for a couple years. We debuted it this year at Cy and Proctor's Analog Astronaut Conference at the Biosphere 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Robbins, right next to us, is really one of the most important figures when it comes to analog space missions. He is a tremendous ally and advocate. Isaac Reed, his dad, John Reed, is a pretty famous science writer. And he and his wife wrote 50 Animals That Have Been to Space, which is a great book. If you haven't seen that, that's a good 50 Animals That Have Been to Space is great. I don't know if you know this, but we sent a pig up.
I didn't know we sent a pig up. I know they were considering a pig to be in a Mercury capsule.
And there's a terrible story. It's not one this is for grown-ups.
Yeah, there's some bad stories about sending primates to space too. But
there's some bad stories.
I've heard some things there. But let's get back to this 11-year-old
Isaac Reed
being in a real spacesuit. I mean, now there is a possibility of the first human on Mars right there, this 11-year-old.
I mean, the grown-ups
this mindset that you're giving him. There's a whole bunch of Cyan was in the crowd there too when you did this. Go back and see.
There's a couple astronauts there actually.
On there, were there?
Yeah, an Analog Astronaut Conference in Biosphere. If you're interested in that or know someone who's interested, Google Analog Astronaut Conference. It's a gathering of some of the top space science minds.
So the question begs, why send kids to space? And even civilians, Dean Babcock says space is still a dangerous game. Is an all-civilian spacewalk a good idea?
Right, it's a good question. But
and your answer.
We who asked that?
Dean Babcock, a great follower of ours. Yeah.
Dean, here's my answer, and it may or may not be good enough, but I'm sticking with it. In the beginning of this conversation, I said that we can solve all the challenges we face on Earth by solving for space. And all of the advances and everything that we've got to this day took courage and boldness. There were losses along the way, even building skyscrapers. And we know the dangers, and we know that nobody would want to put their kids up in space, arguably. Yet, you remember this young girl, Jessica Duboff? She was 7 and she tried to fly across. She was going to be the first 7-year-old, first child to fly across the United States of America in an airplane.
Hmm.
and a bad upwind caught her dad and her and the co-pilot, and then they crashed and died. And this is, I think, in the 90s. And then we interviewed the mom. The journalists interviewed their mom afterwards and asked her, "Did you make a mistake by letting your daughter fly?" And she stopped. Like, this is a remarkable scene. She stops the conference. She's like, "Listen, I'm gonna miss my daughter for the rest of my life. No question about that. But if you think that I could have stopped Jessica from flying, then you didn't know Jessica." And I say that to say this: all of these students that I'm working with around the world, yes, there are some students I work with that I'm just doing a general introduction to space, and that's important because there's so many different ways to connect with space. We don't have to be astronauts. We can be ground control. We can be engineers. We can be designers. There's so many different roles in the industry and culture of space. And then there's the people who want to fly, and those students are different than the rest of us. They know who they are. They are already well trained. They're doing all the things. There was a young woman. She's now in college. She wrote the introduction for the astronaut instruction manual when she was 13.
Okay.
Her name is Alyssa Carson, and now she's nearly got her undergraduate degree, and she was working to be the first kid to go to space, and she did the work. She did all the work. She did the training. She showed up. And if somebody shows up like that, I tell students every day, you show up, I will push the doors open. I'm not lifting anybody. I'm not pulling anybody. I'm not getting anybody a hand out, but I will definitely give a person who works for it a hand up.
Well, I hope you're inspired like me listening to Mike Mongo here.
Thanks, Dean.
Getting our youth inspired. This is great, Mike. You've got the humanity.
So once kids go to space,
yeah,
Dean, imagine all the students in the world are going to see that, and they're going to want to go. They're going to want to pursue these careers. It's going to create the largest space movement ever. And we're about to send a spaceship up, Starship, that holds 100 people at a time. And I give you my word, we're putting kids on that.
Families, probably.
Probably not.
Probably not families.
No, maybe not. Maybe.
What's your Human Heirs initiative here? Tell us about
Human Heirs
that.
is from the Astronaut Instruction Manual. It's what I call the next generation that moves to space. That when we have a thing like an O'Neill cylinder, O'Neill tube, that they can live in space. And so I explain that concept to students. I call them Human Heirs, and they're the people that represent humanity out in space. In this next generation of space, and we've explored space. We've been out there. We haven't explored all space, obviously, but we understand the concept now. So now we're gonna mobilize to space.
Excellent. So follow that, Mike's endeavors here. He's so passionate, like you see there, but very involved with the spaceport up in Scotland.
Shetland.
Shetland. Okay. What's Saxavord Spaceport? There's one side of it.
Yep.
And then here's the other side. I pulled a couple pictures off, looked in the other direction. What a vista that looks like there.
It's a beautiful spaceport.
And there you are cutting the ribbon with the kids you're
That's
talking
Grace and
about
Harry.
there. All right. What's this all about? What are they going to launch from there? Low Earth orbit payloads, obviously.
Yeah, and mostly polar orbit.
Mostly polar orbit.
Yeah.
Okay, that lends itself to spy satellites. What kind of rockets can launch from here?
They've got the Lockheed's got a rocket that they've got lined up to launch from there. That's Frank and Debbie Strang. They own the spaceport.
Okay, and that's the Scotland's prime minister or something there, I think. He was a muckety muck of there. Robert Law knows who he is. They're up in Dundee.
Does he? Do you know who that is, Robert? I don't recognize him.
And there, I wrote his name down somewhere, but.
And so Debbie and Frank are amazing, and they had a gin distillery.
So,
Frank's they're both involved in music, and
I wonder why I saw a gin bottle among those pictures there. So what's your role with this, Mike?
So I wrote a letter to I wanted to do a space camp. I had already done astronaut job fair. I wanted to do a working camp where students can have an experience of that parallels space. and we couldn't do it in Orlando. It didn't make sense. There's too many distractions, and it's not realistic. It's a great place, Orlando. It's not space training. And I looked and saw where I started to investigate where these kind of spaceports that are kind of out there would be, like a more rough terrain.
Mm-hmm.
You know, originally we sent the Apollo astronauts and we did put them out on islands and stuff like that. So in case
Iceland was a place where they trained on the moon.
And then even with Inspiration 4, they climbed Mount Rainier to go through hardship, and that is that's more in line with what space
Really,
is
the
like.
Inspiration 4 team with Jared Isaacman went up to Mount Rainier just to train.
You haven't watched the show Contact on Netflix?
No, not
It's
the
only
whole
4
thing.
episodes.
Yeah, not the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, you got to watch.
I'm
that.
sorry, but
You're gonna love it.
I'll get caught up there.
You'll love it.
4
episodes. Contact, Netflix, Inspiration 4 story, and so having this more pristine, rugged area, I reached out to Anders Poulsen. He's the billionaire who funded the Saxford Spaceport. He's the largest landowner in Scotland, the laird. He's called a laird, and which is like lord. And he is very involved. He has a passion for a commitment to students, and he lost 3 of his own children in a terrible accident
oh my gosh.
to do with terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so he just has a real love for supporting students and young students and the possibilities that they represent. He agreed with it, fostered it with, and Frank and Debbie, they held me to accountability though. Like we had to create a program of record. My friend who's a lieutenant in the military and worked with us to create a program of record that really communicated our vision, and they embraced it. That was 4 years ago. I want you to know that when I got to the Saxford Spaceport, oh, by the way, when they told me that Saxford was that there were no spaceports in the UK, there was no vertical launch facilities in the UK, I did not believe them. I want you to know that.
Right.
Isn't that? I know.
Yeah, that does seem odd.
No vertical launch facilities in Western Europe.
Well,
did you know this?
No, not really. I thought
me
that
neither.
there was a port for spy satellites or something somewhere.
Like small sounding rockets,
yeah,
really, but
right.
Nothing. And
Wallops Island type of thing.
So I found that out, and so now this is the first licensed spaceport in the UK, and it's about to do the first launch this year. And
who's the launch?
Rocket Factory Augsburg.
Okay.
And how they're building the rockets, those are another good. Rocket Factory Augsburg is how they're building the rockets. All the new technology that we're implementing it for developing for space is spectacular. If you're a space geek like me, it is. These are rabbit holes that go down that I go down, and so then we staged the astronaut job camp there. Did the after COVID, did the first in-person one in 2022, and the next thing you know, they fly me all over the place. I'm all over in the UK. Like I might be more famous in the UK than I am in the US even.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What an outreach guy. We've never had anyone on Stay Curious and so enamored with our students and explaining your educational process, not only to get their attention with your glasses, but to really empower them that they can do this. That's what I like about your enthusiasm, Mike.
But Mark, we needed a me when we were them.
Yeah.
Like we needed a person like me. Like I had Mr. Wizard.
Right.
And Captain Kangaroo, I loved him.
I had Soupy Sales. What can I say? I was misspent from the beginning. Those of them that know who Soupy Sales is. But no, you're absolutely
Logan,
right.
Do you know who Soupy Sales is?
No, Logan does not know who Soupy Sales is. You know
who Mr. Wizard is?
I agree with you. I look back on
Bill Nye.
I look back Bill Nye the Science Guy and Beekman's World. There's another
Beekman's World. You know that one?
On there.
Not that one.
But
Slim Goodbody.
This is the 50-year generational difference between where I grew up and now. Is like I look back and there weren't a lot of guidance counselors, but they really didn't know where to guide you. And it was obvious to me in high school where somebody should have been trying to push me into, in there. But being the oldest in my family and all that stuff, we always feel like we're the tip of the spear.
I was the oldest.
You're the oldest too. So you came back from college and go, what the hell you letting my sister live in her own apartment for in high school? I could never do
The
that.
lavish lifestyle that the youngest leads.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
are you kidding me?
Exactly. So we got a couple comments there. Carlton saying you're really showing your age here, Mr. Wizard. Dean Babcock says, Mike, we appreciate your passion and good luck on
Thank
all
you,
your
Dean.
endeavors. And I think we found a new friend here at the museum that could also lead us to a few people that need to see our museum to what we're trying to do here. Mike, we're wrapping this up here. We got Cliff Watson is having his morning breakfast in Pomona, Australia, watching us here. And Cliff,
I'm looking to do an astronaut job camp at Rocket launch pad. What's
in New
it?
Zealand,
Yeah, what's Firefly's
Rocket Lab.
Is it oh yeah, it's a Rocket Lab. Rocket Lab 1, I think it's yeah, and in New Zealand at that. I am definitely talking with people right now.
Well, help him out there. Cliff sat right here in this chair a couple times. He came to see the Great American Eclipse in April. Been a friend of mine
Wow.
since the first eclipse 7 years earlier.
That's cool.
When he came here. Well, Bill Whiting's watching up in Michigan, and we appreciate everybody. Man Space. That's Mitch Rothman. He has a good Facebook page just like ours, celebrates space history, called NASA Man Space. Doug Forrest is a fabulous artist in Los Angeles. Tom Usiak, rocket launch photographer. I know, Tommy, you enjoyed this today. And Dave Stangy, Gary Gerald, Dean Babcock, a lot of our regulars, Steve Jokums there. We're blessed with everybody that has been watching us for a couple years now. All those people I mentioned, and I'm sure that they find our show today quite different, and your passion very genuine there, Mike.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you here. Is there something we didn't talk about that you'd like to make sure people know about? I want to ask you, you met a lot of kind of very interesting people, from very wealthy to the very meek and mild, it looks like. What are a couple people that have left an impression on you in what you're doing today?
Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos,
Okay.
both of them. Like I've been around Elon Musk a
You've
couple
been around
times,
both of these
and
mega stars of our new
that's what
space
everybody
age.
thinks of them as. And I've seen them in action personally. And when around Elon Musk, I was told not to get too close to the sun. That was how it was expressed.
Okay.
And so I definitely kept my distance, though the distance came within to me, and that was different. And then with Jeff Bezos has been a remarkable ally. Like he's been his Club for the Future.
Yes.
Yeah, he's done. Like, it's amazing to be able to reach out to people like Jeff Bezos and have a conversation. And he's been at the International Space Development Conference in 2019, like, where I got to introduce him to the 25 winners of the space settlement contest they have every year. That was the National Space Society's International Space Development Conference. And so then Jeff was there, and he comes in, and there's all the governors of the NSS, because it's Jeff Bezos. Yo, Blue Origin, let's go. And then he sweeps across the room. He's got his security, and they're intense. And then he sees me, and he goes, "Oh, hey," and I'm like, "What?" Like, me? Yeah. And then he's always just been very accessible to me, and that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's an important thing to remember, is that it's not about. I don't talk to Jeff Bezos about Amazon. I talk with Jeff Bezos about kids in space, and about he's wanted to go to space since he was 5, and this is probably a lot of us the exact same. And that's the thing, is that we get to think about that when we're meeting these people. All of these, it's not just about somebody who's famous. It's not just about somebody who is influential. It's about how are we making the world and the future a place worth having, and that's the game. And so, whenever I meet somebody, I talk about the same thing. I talk about space. I talk about giving students permission to, like, we're about to be, that what we have with space now is, who knew it was going to go this fast?
Right.
And Orbital Reef and New Glenn is about to launch.
Yeah.
They took me on a tour of the factory, and I got to see it. It's so big.
Huh.
It's just incomprehensible, and we're here. And I know that
Here to stay too. You see the campus of Blue Origin over there. I drove by after lunch today,
so much
coming over
bigger
here.
now.
They're building 3 more buildings.
Yeah.
And a parking garage, it looks like, beside it there. Did you see the 3-level
Yeah.
parking garage going up there? And I remember when they broke ground like 7
Yeah.
years ago here. It's amazing. Club Future is
Club
such
for
a
the
good
Future.
thing. Club for the Future. That's Blue Origin's embracing kids. They sign postcards. He puts them in the suborbital craft. They go up, and then they mail them to the kids.
My people, if you have grandchildren or children, do me a favor. Have them make a postcard and put art on it, their art on the postcard, and then just send it into Blue Origin. Just send a postcard. You don't have to do anything else. You just send a postcard. And, oh no, I apologize. Put the postcard in an envelope and send it to them. They will send it back to you. They'll send you the postcard back. All you have to do is get them the postcard. They'll send the postcard back to you. They'll mail it back to you.
After it's been to space.
Stamped with your daughter, sons, granddaughter, grandsons, nephew, nieces, name and art on it. Stamped that says, this has been to space. You remember being a kid and how important getting that postcard that says something I created. You just go to clubforthefuture.org, I think it is, and it's free. And every student in the country should be doing this. Blue Origin has sent more art to space than all art missions combined. This is such an important thing because it makes an immediate, direct impact. It makes a connection, boom, just like that. And again, it is a world and a future worth having. It is a place where we have enough for everybody, and we can do that with space.
Well, we're living in a rocket renaissance with some big dreamers out there that are putting their money where their mouth is and making these dreams a reality. And Mike Mongo, we feel like you're right with them, my friend, and appreciate you sharing a small part of what you do. We will have Mike back. We'll have Mike back as often as he wants to come and focus on maybe some more specific things there. And thank you so much here.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
My pleasure.
Well,
Y'all let people know that American Space Museum exists, because this place is just cool. And outside this studio right here, out there, is stuff that could have been abandoned to history.
Yeah.
And it tells the story about how we got to where we're going.
Well, and that's, we appreciate people like Mike Mongo out there, grassroots, telling people about our humble museum, as well as Stay Curious, where we're reaching people around the world with great content, space history, interviews with people like yourself. And we love talking about the shuttle era that has changed our lives so much that you can't even understand it. So
yeah, so follow, share, and subscribe. Those are
go.
important things
Follow,
to remember.
share, and check out all these sites of Mike.
Yeah, you can find me.
Mongo's
Just
here.
Google Mike Mongo. Comes right up.
There you go. Well, once again, thanks, my friend, for being here. The rest of the week, we're going to do our usual space history stuff. I heard from Marty, like I said, and he's doing fine up in Long Island, the roots of his Grumman legacy there, building the lunar module. He'll have some stories to tell next week. Before we leave, Mike, want to give you a Rocket Hobo patch here. And our good friend that created this patch, Ozzy Osband, died a year ago yesterday.
Oh,
And we miss Ozzy. He brought the 321 area code here.
I was at his memorial.
And
That's
his-
where you and we saw each other
Yeah,
there.
when we did it on 321 day there. So want you to have a Rocket Hobo patch to
Thank
remember
you.
your visit here.
I'll put this on my flight suit, man. Thank you.
Sweet. And kids will be going crazy over that. We really appreciate you educating our kids and opening us adults' eyes to how we need to treat kids and inspire them to do their dreams and meet their dreams, just like we all had a chance to. So until next time, thank you, Logan Cope, for doing a great job on the board today, and live long and
Live
prosper.
long and prosper.
I'm Mark Marquette, thanking Mike Mongo and saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.
Pow, pow, pow.